Hello, friends. I hope that you're all doing well, and welcome into another photography adventure. In this video, I share various tips and techniques for shooting seascapes and abstract photography. Our adventure begins as I stop for a few photographs on my drive through the Cascade mountain range as I make my way out to the coast. Good morning, everyone. I am packed up and heading out to the coast right now and passing through the Cascades in order to get out there. And I just had to stop as these mountain scenes are beautiful with the morning light kind of cresting over the ridgeline and hitting the peaks. So I have a shot set up, and then I'll pack up and head out, and we'll hit the coast for a couple of days. Should be good. So we made it to the coast, and it is absolutely beautiful out. Maybe a little bit too beautiful. As you might be able to see, it's completely clear skies. And I knew what I was getting into when I decided to go on this trip. It's forecasted for clear skies, but I can't tell you how many times that's been the forecast, and there's still been amazing sunsets with some cloud layers rolling through. So yeah, I think because it's sunny out, what I'm gonna do is focus on a lot of abstract photography. And that's one thing about the coast and sea stacks, is just they present limitless opportunities for cool, unique, abstract photography. So abstract photography to me is also kind of like an adventure where I can just explore and see what sticks out to my eye. So I'm gonna do just that and start exploring right now. And I will set up and start showing you guys what I'm working with. All right, so I've been exploring this beach, and there's a lot that I like. One thing with abstract photography is I tend to not even break out my camera right away. First, I kind of, just start exploring the area, see what draws my attention. What am I really feeling right here? And often, I might not even know why I feel drawn to something, but as soon as I see a scene and I feel pulled to it, I know that something's there, even if I haven't, fully put it together yet. So yeah, don't rush to pull out your camera. Take your time, really take in a scene, see what resonates with you. And then when you find something, and you'll feel pulled to it. When you find something that pulls you, then break out your camera, start exploring, start composing and recomposing, and figure out what the scene is and why you were drawn to it. And I guarantee, I feel like 10 times out of 10, when I really felt pulled to something, there's always a picture there if I'm just patient enough to work with it and find the composition. Usually I'm drawn to something for a reason. All right, so you'll see what I have composed here. Basically what I'm drawn to in the scene is this kind of bright green. It's almost like a golden green, and kind of the golden sparkle of the sand underneath it, and these patterns from the water caustics that you'll see very pronounced. And so I'm doing a couple things here. Number one, I have my shutter speed way up. I've had to crank my ISO in order to do that. And the reason I'm doing that is to kind of freeze those patterns from the water caustics so that they don't smear over with the movement of the water and they really come through. And that seems to be working so far. And then the other thing I'm doing here is I'm exposing for the highlights. It's a really bright scene. The sun is shining directly on it. So I am exposing for the highlights, and I'll just take it up a bit if I need to in post. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with this shot. There's a few different scenes here I want to compose. But I'm going to keep playing around with this and try and find the best composition. And yeah, hopefully these turn out as well as I think they might. loved the way these photos turned out, and I had an absolute blast playing around with these different abstract scenes. One of the things I enjoyed the most about abstract photography is that you can get a bit more creative in editing, because abstract scenes are not immediately recognizable as to what you're looking at. So this opens up more room to be creative in post-production and find a look that best complements the patterns in the frame. I also really enjoy playing with different crops, and I found here that the X-pan ratio ended up working very nicely in this scene, as it really pulls you into the most interesting patterns, and the photo tends to work best with the viewer's eye panning horizontally across the scene. After shooting these scenes, I decided to get my drone out and see what wave compositions I might be able to find from the bird's eye perspective. And here's what I shot. So what you see here is probably not immediately obvious, but basically it's this reflection in the tide pool of this giant log. And what I like is you see this kind of golden color palette on the right from the log reflecting in the pool. That's kind of contrasting with this bluish hues of the shadows from the rocks in the tide pool. And I think it makes this kind of cool abstract shot. And the fact that, as you see the reflection here in the tide pools, the water kind of gives that golden color, a bit of extra sparkle from the log. And I think it works really well. So because the water is moving a bit, as you might be able to see here, I'm trying to keep my shutter speed up. I'm having to push the ISO a bit so that I don't have any motion in the reflection. And so far, I think it's turning out pretty well. I have one shot a bit more pulled back, and then one a bit more in, which I think works really well. So I'm going to keep playing with this scene and different compositions and see what we come away with. All right, so I've climbed up on these sea stacks and there's just this beautiful scene in front of me. It's low tide right now, so I don't have to worry about the water coming up over me. It's fairly safe. But I'm just focused in with the long lens on these sea stacks, which are catching this beautiful golden light, and these birds that are perched up on the sea stacks, and other birds keep swooping in and diving into the frame. So I'm trying to capture all of it. I might do a bit of like a composite shot and pull in some of the birds into the frame. Also, there's clouds in the sky a bit. I mean, kind of really soft, wispy ones. They're not totally in the direction that I'm shooting in, so we'll see if they even make it into the shot. But sunset's turning out a bit better than I thought when I first got to the beach. So I'm just gonna keep working with this scene here and see what different shots that I can come away with. After a good night's rest, I got up early and headed out to explore another beach that I had scouted the previous day. And despite the forecast being questionable, I was hopeful we'd get a compelling sunrise that might add some drama to an iconic set of sea stacks that I was looking to photograph. So it's probably hard to see here as the screen's a bit small, but there's these rocks that are getting this water to flow right over them and kind of making these leading lines back into the sea stacks in the background. And so I have an ND filter on to try and slow the shutter speed and get the right wave or water patterns that I want. And then I'm just doing a focus stack, one for the rocks, one for the sea stacks in the background. And yeah, I think it's halfway decent. We'll see if it turns out okay when I get it back in Photoshop. But no matter what, it's a beautiful morning and I'm just having fun shooting out here. Now, this image didn't turn out as I had hoped, and there are a few things both subtle and obvious that are holding it back. First off, the sunrise was a bit of a dud. I didn't quite get the color or dramatic light that could have made this image a bit more dynamic. And the wave action in the foreground is decent and creates some nice leading lines, but the rock formation I chose in the foreground could have been a bit better positioned. The rocks themselves sort of act as leading lines, only they're pulling the viewer's eye off the frame and to the left, instead of back into the main subject, which is the sea stacks. Additionally, there's too little space between the top of the rock on the left and the background sea stacks, and it adds a bit of tension to the image. So they're not all going to be winners, but I figured I'd show you this image as a good example of how you need to be mindful of all the little elements in a scene in order to pull a compelling photograph together. After photographing these sea stacks, I decided to walk further down the beach and explore a few more abstract patterns that had caught my eye. And here's how those turned out. Being out at the ocean never fails to inspire me. The abundance of life in every form, the sound of waves thundering against the shoreline, and that primordial, ancient smell of the sea itself. It's a photography paradise, and combining this with an abstract perspective and honing in on the small details really helps pull me into the moment and reminds me that there's beauty everywhere, and we just slow down and look. Well, folks, I think that's going to do it for me. It has been an awesome time out here. It's been so nice just being outdoors, and I think I got a few halfway decent photos as well. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like or subscribing for more content. And I will be back with you all on another adventure real soon. All right, take care.